Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. It's time for Spawn Daily, and we're up to issue 18, which is the final issue of the Grant Morrison arc. Which I don't know that I could say it's my favorite Spawn issue. It's 18 is my favorite Spawn issue that we've read so far. But man, in terms of just a fast-paced, action-packed arc, be hard pressed in the first 18 issues to find anything better than these three. So I thought it was fantastic. The art, even the cover from Greg Capullo, which is fantastic. It's Spawn standing above the grave of Al Simmons with all these rats that are I don't know, it's supposed to insinuate they were chewing up his body or whatever. I don't know. I thought it was fantastic, action packed, like I said, and just amazing. And I'm also I ordered two, but I got the first one in today, so I'm rocking.
Very nice. It's a great headshot there. Great headshot.
Yeah, first Spawn shirt. So
yeah.
Another one is on its way, but
it looks really cool. For those listening on the podcast, it looks cool because the green glow of the Spawn's eyes. I have Jace on a green screen right now, so you can actually see through Jace's body on the YouTube channel here because the green screen in the back. So it looks even more ominous. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, fantastic. So let me give the credits real fast, and then we'll get Rocky's thoughts on the issue and do the recap. So Grant Morrison handles the story, Greg Capullo on pencils. We have Art Taber and Dan Panosian on inks. Tom Orzechowski does letters. Steve Oliff on the colors. So, what'd you think of the conclusion of Morrison's arc here, Rocky?
I quite like this. This continues the. Issue 17 ended on a cliffhanger. Issue 17 and 18 are almost essentially, in many ways, one glorified long fight scene. In issue 17, Anti-Spawn, who is Jason Wynn, we discovered is basically an agent of heaven, or recruited by some forces in heaven, by control in heaven, to basically take out Spawn, Al Simmons. But it's not clear if Jason Wynn actually has his memories. But he's got powers similar to Spawn, and but every time he's got these powers where he's sort of powered up with all this this energy, this elemental fire that he's filled up with, and it causes him great pain, and he's got to release it. And he almost killed Spawn, and he's about to kill Spawn at the end of issue 17, and right away here in issue 18, where last issue ended with Spawn escaping, teleporting away, and he ends up teleporting back to his area of the streets with his fellow homeless persons in the alley, and he's followed quickly by Anti-Spawn, who shows up, basically waiting to kill him, hovering over his very wounded and destroyed body, and we come upon once again, we get his friends, these street people, these bums, these lowest forms of life in the back alleys of the city, helping their friend out, Spawn. And they, one guy in particular, he is a Vietnam vet. He takes a swing at Anti-Spawn, and of course that causes a distraction, and the distraction is just enough that this distraction is significant, because it's all of Spawn's friends coming to help him out, and they're standing up against him. And of course it's ridiculous that they can do anything against Anti-Spawn, who could very easily handily destroy them. But it causes enough of a distraction that it allows Spawn to sort of stand up and to confront Anti-Spawn, and to basically get one up on him. If I've got one observation in this fight scene, what ensues, that ultimately Spawn ends up defeating Anti-Spawn, and it's a heck of a battle. But I did find it rather curious that Spawn seems to heal rather quickly here. Now there seems to be some in-story explanations for it, that Anti-Spawn uses up perhaps too much of his energy. At one point, Spawn speculates that maybe Anti-Spawn's powers are much like his. Like, in other words, he can drain himself, and perhaps that was the case. But it's quite clear as the battle wages on between Spawn and Anti-Spawn in the alleys of this city, that slowly Jason Wynn and Anti-Spawn becomes more weaker and weaker, and ultimately Spawn gets one up on him. Greg Capullo's art here really shines in these battle sequences. This is really truly gorgeous art, and I, you know, and as we said earlier, this actually reads. It's very fast paced. It doesn't take a long time to read issue 17 going into issue 18 here at all, but it's really good. It's action packed, and I like the choreography of the scenes. I because I really got a sense in terms of I know what actions Spawn and Anti-Spawn are taking against each other. There's a hell of a scene where Spawn actually is behind Anti-Spawn, cups his face, and just shoots all his green energy through his face. It almost looks like he's literally blowing Anti-Spawn's face right off. And then another scene where he looks like Spawn looks like he's slamming his fist right through Anti-Spawn's head. It's really incredible. Greg Capullo really outdid himself here. Great scenes, great action. Again, that wonderful phrase that we say from time to time, a shit-eating grin on my face. That same shit-eating grin that every evil person in a Spawn comic at sooner or later has a shit-eating grin on his face. I'm grinning like a villain in a McFarlane comic. Reading this, it's so much fun. We get to the end where Spawn here, the end of the battle sequence, where Spawn literally shoots his green energy blast literally right through Anti-Spawn, much like Anti-Spawn shot his energy blast through Spawn in issue 17. And that didn't, when it happened to Spawn, Al Simmons, he never died. And similarly, even though Anti-Spawn here looks like, I don't know how you survive getting your head pretty much blown apart, and then you got a great big hole in your torso. But again, that's what happens here. Spawn clearly wins the day, wins this battle in this issue, only to have Anti-Spawn be teleported away in a bright light, and he ends up back in the Angel Station satellite where he basically originated. And the individuals or the beings who we don't really know much about in this satellite, they talk about powering him up again, and they're disappointed that Anti-Spawn failed, but they're going to have to fill him up with more elemental fire. And it's interesting that one of the observations I made when they were, I think they made a strategic error, that one of the things that these people that this organization, the same organization that apparently I think initially sent Angela in issue 9 to try to take out Spawn, I think the mistake that they're making with Jason Wynn here is that they're not letting Jason Wynn think for himself. That the process by which they empower Jason Wynn up causes him so much pain, he just wants to unleash the energy blast against Spawn just to relieve his own pain. And his desire to kill Spawn is that he wants to alleviate his pain, but the pain also distracts him, and I think takes away from Jason Wynn's ability to think for himself. It's not even clear if Jason Wynn knows who he is, as you indicated last time. Does Anti-Spawn even know he's Jason Wynn? Is he conscious of who he is? Does he remember who he is? Did he lose his memories in the same way as Al Simmons had his memories taken away and ultimately used as a way to give substance to psychoplasm, as we talked about earlier? All these questions, these are interesting questions. I like the fact that they're not answered. I like the fact that it's sort of dangling out there as we're reading along the stories, because there's more to come. One of the
questions sorry, Rocky. One of the questions I had to that I thought about, because when they empowered Jason Wynn, they talked about, it didn't seem like it was the first time they'd ever done it. When Gabrielle said it, she did indicate that it seemed kind of rare that heaven would directly interfere with matters on earth, as they call it, but it didn't sound like it was unheard of. But then when they bring the body of Jason Wynn back on board the satellite, and they talk about, well, this was just a test run. This Hellspawn is stronger and more resourceful than we thought. We got to increase our soldiers' power levels and whatnot. It's almost like this was a trial run. Did they know it was going to fail? And they faced Hellspawns in the past. So is there something special about Al Simmons that he's stronger than the average Hellspawn? Is it his training? Is it his background? He doesn't give up, that kind of thing. And why not? Why would you not power up Jason Wynn to his fullest potential from the start if you want to destroy this Hellspawn? Is it because, like you were saying, then he would only deplete the power more quickly because it's causing him pain? So yeah, there are a lot of unanswered questions um, based on this battle, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, just like you're okay with that, because at the end of the day, this was one badass fight scene between these two guys that Capullo gave us. So
It really was, and what makes it even more interesting and poses more questions is what is revealed following Jason Wynn anti-spawn being teleported back up to the satellite, because one of the other street people, that Spawn saved approaches him, and he apparently is one of the same people who has knowledge of Spawn and Spawn's mythology, and this person is unnamed, but he references Calgiosto. I don't know if I said that name right, but there was a character we met in the earlier issues. One of the street people that knew a lot about Spawn and Spawn mythology and the war and the war between heaven and hell, and it's very interesting because when Al speaks to this person who knew Calgiostro, we learn that heaven and hell are not the only players in the game, that there are other players and agencies owing allegiance to both heaven and hell, and that apparently there are methods whereby you can undo any bargain you made with the devil, and you can retain your power, and you can actually beat the devil. Spawn is told this by this guy. He's told this, and he's told this in almost just one panel. So this is a major revelation on a single panel in this comic book, where if you're not careful, you're going to be distracted by the beautiful fight scenes, and if you skip over some of the exposition, it's like you've missed a major revelation here. So
yeah, the guy basically comes right out and says you can beat the devil.
yeah, you can.
So I mean, I'm surprised that Al Simmons didn't just grab him and be like, "Tell me what I need to do."
Exactly. In fact, that's one of my, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but I'm thinking like, why didn't Spawn do exactly that? Pick up, you mean I can beat the devil? I mean, he basically tells him that now if we piece together, if we draw the inference from what this person who goes unnamed says to Spawn, if there are different agencies that owe allegiance to heaven and hell, and you can actually bargain with heaven and hell, clearly we know that Jason Wynn made a bargain with an agent of hell, and that's how, and he traded Al Simmons' soul in order to get psychoplasm, and then it was the psychoplasm that was infused with Al Simmons' memories that led to Simmonsville being created. So we know that. So we know that Jason Wynn had made a bargain with an agent of hell. So, which prompts me to ask the question: if Jason Wynn made a bargain with an agent of hell, it must really piss him off. I'm wondering if the reason why Jason Wynn was chosen as an agent of heaven was they wanted to maybe. It's just odd. Why would heaven choose an agent, Jason Wynn, who clearly was working in conjunction with hell? It's an odd choice, and it makes me wonder, was that intentional? Was that fluke? Because we talked before how it was a ridiculous coincidence that
Yep.
Jason Wynn was chosen as an agent of heaven. Well, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe heaven just wanted to take Jason Wynn off the playing field in a twisted kind of way and make them their agent, and maybe that's why they're infusing him with a great deal of energy, but also pain, and making them his pawn. I don't know, like it's almost like heaven and hell have this sick game of that they're playing against each other, and they're using good and evil people as their pawns. It's odd. Anyways, I just throw that out there because I don't know if I'm making sense saying this, but I'm trying to get a handle on the choices that these agents of hell and heaven are making. But in any event,
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and both of us kind of wondering, well, why didn't Spawn, follow up with this guy? The guy gives him his card, and the card's blank, and he says, "Oh, it's blank." He goes, "Only for now. When the time comes, we'll be in touch." But then Spawn goes, and you'll recap it here in a second. Spawn goes back to Simmonsville. The only thing I can think is why he didn't grab this guy is maybe he's distracted. He knows Simmons. He's now that he's finished this battle with Anti-Spawn, his focus is on getting back to Simmonsville. Maybe
yeah.
that distracted him from kind of pursuing. Because yeah, you would think he wants his life back. And if this guy says there's a way to get out of a deal with the devil, that's where his focus would go.
Yeah.
but it doesn't. But the other thing that happens right before the guy approaches him when Spawn's and before Anti-Spawn gets or as he gets teleported away, the guy that first attacked Anti-Spawn, Marty is his name, or they call him Dipper. Um, he goes up to Spawn and says, "Yeah, I had to hit him, blah blah blah." And as Anti-Spawn gets teleported away, Marty says, or Dipper says, "He disappeared just like that. I'll be damned." And Spawn says, "I wouldn't recommend it. Like he wouldn't recommend being damned." It's such a just a, like a cool little like
Yeah.
very dry piece of humor that is so Grant Morrison
Yeah.
that it had me chuckling to myself when I read it. Just, well, I'll be damned. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
No, that's good.
I wanted to point that out. So
No, it's a great line. I even have that line written down in my notes, but I end up skipping
yeah,
over it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
but
fantastic. So
yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad you mentioned that. But so then once Spawn isn't done yet though, because it wasn't Spawn just he's defeated Anti-Spawn, but there's one thing left that Spawn wants to destroy, and he wants to destroy Simmonsville. Because Simmonsville is made up of all of Al Simmons' memories. It's made up of all his memories because it's made up of psychoplasm. And Al Simmons makes a point because it reminds him of, obviously it's his memories, but it's tormenting him as well. And so he goes to destroy it. And in the process of destroying Simmonsville, destroying the buildings, the images, he's destroying not just the constructs of the buildings, but he's actually, in a sense, metaphorically, he's destroying his memories, I guess both metaphorically and literally. And as he's doing that, he confronts Major Vale. Sorry, Major Vale shows up, who was one of the colleagues of Jason Wynn. And, you know, it was funny because I was expecting Major Vale to be a major player in this series. I just assumed that. I thought maybe he'd be like a General Ross. He'd stay on for many issues, but I guess not. Because, I
nope.
mean, nope. Yeah, Spawn takes him out right away. He says drop dead and literally blows him like in a very graphic fashion. Greg Capullo does a masterful job. This is a gory scene. The top quarter of the page is literally Spawn shooting Major Vale through the eye. His brains and his eyeballs are shooting out the back of his head. And then there's the bottom 3/4 of the page. Most of it is this gaping hole in the on the right eye of Major Vale as he's bleeding and his brains are all over the place on the ground. A very gory and violent scene. So, I mean, good Lord, Spawn is, the Spawn truly is. I mean, yeah, I guess he's the agent of hell. Yeah, he's pissed. Spawn is pissed off. He's pissed
yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah, he is. He says, they perverted all my memories and took them from me, and now I'm taking them back, and he's taking them back by destroying them. And when
Yeah,
Vale shows up, we saw last issue, he's heading to Simmonsville because he thinks somehow he's going to save the day, and he tells Spawn, I order you to stop what you're doing while you're destroying everything." Spawn says, "I'll give you an order, drop dead," and bam, just like that. Like it was, yeah, it was fantastic. There's no hesitation, there's no negotiation, there's no "who the hell are you?" It's, "Are you gonna giving me an order? I'm giving you an order. Drop dead.
yeah,
Let me help you with that." Bam. So yeah,
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I know. And as he does that, now here's why I particularly love this issue, and this is, I'm gonna maybe I'm start I'll maybe I'll start to sound like a broken record. Hopefully I will, because this is my new favorite issue. Because and it's all because of the ending that it was a heartfelt ending. This is a egregiously violent comic, this particular issue, and yet here at the end, it's so beautiful. Spawn destroys all his memories, all the constructs. He destroys all this Simmonsville. He destroys because it's made out of psychoplasm from his memory. But he keeps one little spark, and it's of that memory of that day that he proposed to his wife Wanda on the lake, floating on the boat in the calm waters on the lake. And he keeps that memory as a spark, and his intention is to keep it for himself. But at the end, as Wanda is looking out her bedroom window, looking sexy as hell, look as it's raining outside, and she's talking to her husband Terry Fitzgerald. Spawn is there, and he blows the sparkle of that memory right into her face, and she can't tell, but she experiences that memory. And it's actually quite a touching scene, and the raindrops on the windowsill. It's it's interesting how Greg Capullo did it because, there's you could see it's either tears coming down Wanda's face, but it also could be water on the window, which is in front of Wanda's face, that's going down. So we got raindrops and tears, and as she's experiencing this memory with Spawn staring at her in the tree outside, hidden in the behind the tree, saying "I love you," it's, and that's it's that last vestige. It's like he's giving a last gift to the woman he loved before the final two-page spread where he says, "I am nothing but darkness." It's like his last bit of love he gives to Wanda before that final page where he says, "I've got nothing left but darkness," before he embraces the darkness. And I thought it was tragic, it was beautiful, it was violent, it was funny. It had a little bit of everything for everybody. It's Man, I Grant Morrison, kudos to him, man. This was very, very well done. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it really solidified for me. This issue solidified for me that these three issues are my favorite thing I've ever read that Grant Morrison has done. This is even better than All Star Superman. Um, not
Oh,
not because
whoa, that's
not,
something.
not well well, and this is why I say that, because there are things about All Star Superman that you look at and you say, well, that doesn't really match up with the lore of Superman or this or that or whatever, right? There is not a huge amount of lore when it comes to Spawn at the time that Grant Morrison wrote this. So this is
Mhm,
helping to establish lore. Like imagine if
mhm,
Grant Morrison had written, 3 or 4 issues of Superman, in the first 24 issues of Action Comics or whatever. We might be talking about some of those as the best issues. Obviously, a different time period or whatever, but you see what I'm getting at. Like this is
yeah,
foundational stuff, right? And the kind of the symbolism of Spawn saying, "Okay, you're not going to subvert and pervert my memories by having this town of Simmonsville exist, created out of psychoplasm and and use it for a weapon at some point. I'm just not going to allow it." And it's not that he gets to keep it for himself, but he says, if I can't have it, it's not going to be perverted. I'm going to destroy it. And then to keep that one little piece of himself, like you said, it very much seemed like he was going to keep it for himself. But then when he goes to, catch a glimpse of his wife and decides to give it up and then say, yes, I give it to her. She turns out the lights, the window goes dark, but it's okay. I'm used to the dark now. That darkness is my home. It's like for the first time in the entire series, its first 18 issues, it's not that Al Simmons has come. He's not at peace with who he is. He's not at peace with being a Hellspawn. He's not to that point yet. But for the first time, it seems like he's accepted it. He's like, this is who I am now. Darkness is my home. Like that's just I mean, it's a fantastic double page spread from Greg Capullo. So you're right. In a way, by him deciding to give up that last memory and give it to Wanda as a gift and say, I'm Spawn now. I might not be at peace with it, but I'm accepting it. And yeah, just fantastic. Just a fantastic uh, issue all around, because the first half to 2/3 were the end of the epic battle with some great art, and then we got some really cool scenes and a little bit of humor, and the drop dead, was fantastic, and then we get some emotion here at the end. So yeah, I mean, it would be hard for me to make an argument for any of the rest of the issues before this as being better than this. I think the Dave Sim issue stands out. Uh,
yeah.
in my mind anyway. But yeah, I mean this is as good if not better than any of the previous issues. So
And I have to say too that it works good out for it works good for the trades too, because this is the 18th issue, so this is the end of probably likely what would be the third trade.
yeah.
And it really did. I mean, there's so many questions that one has when you get to the end of issue 18, but in a crazy kind of way, this is a satisfying ending. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is a really satisfying ending to a story arc. One of my criticisms, I think all of us have this ongoing criticism of comics in general, is sometimes a story arc feels too much. There's too much open-endedness by the time you get to a story arc. I like to have an ending to a story, and even a story arc, I at least like to have the illusion of an ending at a minimum. This gives me the illusion of an ending. If I never read another Spawn comic after reading issue 18, all the mythology is there for me to build upon it, and so many awesome things I could add to it. And I got the tragedy of the love, of the sacrifice, of the villainy, of the evil, of the politics and the machinations between heaven and hell, and the agencies involved. And this is this is by issue 18. I gotta say, as a high compliment to McFarlane, and of course he's had like a good solid five, you know, certainly A minimum B level A list writers that are helping him do this. This is in 18 issues. This is has established more of a substance filled mythology for a new character at the time. Then you don't see that many writers being able to pull this off in 18 issues today. Anyways, I'm actually I'm impressed. I'm impressed, and at a minimum, if McFarlane was wise, I mean McFarlane at least. I don't know if McFarlane did this on purpose or what have you, but obviously he must have intentionally asked other writers to help him out. But you and I talked about this before, when we talked about previous issues. It it is a very interesting question to ponder. How much discussions did McFarlane have with Morrison and Moore and all those? Because every single one of these writers has contributed something significant to Spawn mythology that is that is significant. So this it's hard to it's no I guess I could joke. It's no wonder that Neil Gaiman maybe got into that lawsuit with each other, Gaiman and McFarlane, because I mean this really was a sharing of ideas between brilliant writers building up to issue 18, because it's hard to imagine, because each one contributed something memorable and significant, whether it was Grant Morrison in his 3 issues, whether it was Neil Gaiman with Angela, whether it was Dave Sim sort of breaking that fourth wall. This was really good, and Greg Capullo on the art, which was a perfect mirror for McFarlane. This overall was just very well done, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, until another issue comes along that's as good or better, for me, the next, I don't know, however many long issues until something may come close, but this is now the measuring stick. Issue 18 is the measuring stick of which I'm going to measure all the,
Yeah.
daily issues going forward until, we get either far enough away from it that the status quo changes, or something else blows me away. So yeah, kudos to the whole creative team for sure. So any final thoughts on this issue, Rocky?
No, I think I pretty much said it. I mean, do I have to give another compliment? No, I'm happy. I got my shit eating grin. I just finished my Crown and Coke, so it's good. It's a good way to end an issue.
Yeah, good. Definitely great way to end an issue.
Uh,
And again, well, thank you all for joining us on this ride. Don't forget, 2022 30th anniversary year of the Spawn. We'll be covering one issue of Spawn main series every day. Hopefully, there's about by the time we get toward the end of the year, it'll be about 300 between 330 340 issues. So got a little bit of a buffer there, and we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe we'll cover some other stuff, medieval Spawn, Violator miniseries, and whatnot. But for now, we're just reading that main series. So we appreciate you guys all joining us along the way. Based on the number of downloads, seems like a lot of you are enjoying it. So if you're checking us out on the audio only, we really appreciate it. Your favorite podcasting app or platform, make sure you subscribe to the Comic Source so you don't miss any audio content. If you haven't checked out Rocky's channel over on YouTube, I definitely encourage you to do that. That's where you can see our smiling faces and check out the art as we talk about the book as well. So just head over to YouTube, do a search for Comic Boom. It's comic space boom exclamation point. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you know when new content comes out, and give this video a like. So once again, we really appreciate the support as always. Hope you guys all checked out our DC Spotlight this last Tuesday, first new DC Tuesday comic spotlight of the new year. We do them every Tuesday. They do have spoilers, and then every Wednesday, the spoiler-free, audio-only new comic book day episode. So plenty of content from both Comic Boom and Comic Source for you guys coming this year. We appreciate you consuming it and enjoying it and interacting with us as always. So be sure you're here tomorrow for more Spawn Daily. We'll talk to you next time.
See you then.